And you are live on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Good morning, Warren County. Hey, good morning, all. Welcome to the county facilities for September 21st. I'd like to start off this morning with the approval from the minutes from previous meetings. The motion from Supervisor Stroud and Supervisor Bruno. I want to say thank you very much. All right, so we'll move right into the our large action agenda today for new businesses. The request to establish the capital.
Mr. McGowan, I'm sorry, can you go back and take the vote on the minutes, please?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. All right, now we can go into our action agenda. The request to establish the capital project, the countryside adult home capital improvements. Kevin? This is really not you. This is more planning. I mean, well, but I mean, when planning with the capital project and moving, so how
So basically, exactly right. This is a capital project called Countryside Adult Home 2021 Capital Improvements. This is basically a place to put the serial bond money as well as the money to reserve countryside rehabilitated into a capital project that we have started. Currently, the RFP was sent out to all the engineering firms. Report. We have since gotten all those RFPs back and we're waiting. Maybe more than one of the
all right, thank you. And this is also, we have, this is grant money and our money, county money.
That is correct. The grant money though, so that's the CDBG grant funding. They go into separate project. This is our money.
Okay. All right, it's kind of a overdue process and we need to maintain our buildings. This is our county owned facility for our adults and seniors, and it's really important that we keep it up. So all in favor of request?
Chairman, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yes, Supervisor.
Wow. It's a question for Kevin. Kevin, what's the rate and the term of the bond?
I don't know that. I would defer to Mike Swan on that. I don't see that he's here. I'm not sure if he's on video.
It was a multiple bond that we're getting for a few capital projects that we discussed before, and the rate is actually very, very reasonable. But what we did is we combined multiple projects to bond it all under one.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I could tell you that the rate is better than we thought it would be when we initially planned it, but we can get you the exact number.
Thank you.
No, that's good enough. Thank you.
Thanks for hopping right in there, Mr. Moore. That was important information. But I'm happy to hear that was a better rate. It was a good rate when we were discussing it, and it's even better rate now. That's awesome. So, all right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so moved. All right, we'll go right into our discussion items. We have our work order request program. How's that going?
I'll turn that over to Scott.
Good morning, Board. I wanted to let you know the work order request forms. We are a year into the process and we have exceeded 1,250 work orders since the inception of it.
That's really some great figures. Did you get my work order on the that speaker there?
No, I did not actually see that work order, so I'll have to
Okay,
look
that was my duty. I guess I didn't fill it out correctly. It must have got lost.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to add on to that, and I'm not to correct Scott, we're not quite a year into it, actually. It won't be until November that we're a year. So by next month, we could have, almost 1,500 work order requests in 1 year's time.
Well, that's good to hear, but some say tomato and some say tomato. You know what I mean? Yes, Ms. Bramer.
Thank you. I wanted to know if after the work order request is completed, do you go back and like alert the person who made the request that it's been completed?
Scott?
Go ahead, Scott.
The process is basically they enter it into the system, and once the email comes to us, we assign it to whoever the team member is. They go, they accomplish it. It's not notified, but I have yet to hear from anybody saying what's going on with my request. So, I mean, we can reach out to them, but everybody has basically anything that's come through, we've taken care of, or we've contacted them saying it's something we can't do. It's out of our realm and we'll get it taken care of outside. But yeah, we have yet to hear from anybody saying mine hasn't been accomplished yet until now, until he asked about the speaker.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, I think, what do we have on that for, how do you know that the completion has been taken care of? Maybe is what, Supervisor Bramer is trying
Yeah,
to say.
if I may, can they go back and into the system and see that it's been like checked off?
Do they hand their paperwork back in when they bring it back and it's finished and
Once the team member takes care of it, they actually have to go through the system and they complete it. And once it's completed on their end, they put the notes in as to how it went and everything, how they accomplished it, how they got it done. And then once it's checked off, a person can go into their side and they can see that their work order is in there and it is complete.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a great system and it was a really wonderful thought that Kevin and I think Kevin and Frank initially started it. I think
Yes.
it was a great, and then Scott came aboard and just tweaked it and fined it up, and it's really it's been great. I see things all over being done, and I haven't heard a complaint yet. So, yes, Mr. Chief.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily dwell on it. This was a system put in place so we could track, number one, the work that was being accomplished, and number two is to, I don't want to necessarily say justify the staff, but the amount of work that those guys do, whether it's moving a box, whether it's repairing a toilet, whether it's doing roof work, there was just no good way before of tracking the work that they were doing. Now we know almost 1,300, work orders that have been done over the past year's time, and everything that they do. And there's a, we can see the kind of the reoccurring themes, such as, mail is put in there or moving paper boxes are put in there. But there's other things that, were never tracked before. And now we have a great tracking process to go along with this.
Yeah, it's
I'm
Amanda.
sorry, I tried to catch you before you moved on, but you didn't see me. You need to go back on that establishing capital project. You called the question, but you did not have a motion on the floor.
Oh, so Supervisor Stroud on the first, Supervisor Wild on the second, all in favor?
Right.
Thank you.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Amanda. I'm sorry why I'm slipping that one today. All right, so that's great news. Let's move right on to the fleet car request program.
The fleet car is doing very well. We have had to date, actually, as of this morning, we've got 162 fleet car requests entered in the system within the month's time that we've had it in place. Just to give you an idea, that's how many car requests we have come through the system. Go ahead.
Yes. Scott, are we moving towards electric vehicles?
Are we moving towards that?
Yeah.
That's a question I would probably have to say would be deferred back to you guys a little bit. There's a lot of questions that would come with that, and that would be a system of course, we do have the EV parking lot out there, but you're also looking at a situation where we'd have to have the capability to service the vehicles up north, and whether we have that in the budget to start purchasing the EV vehicles. We do currently have 3 hybrids that anybody that takes them on a long distance, we make sure that they get those to utilize the electric portion of it.
Yeah, well, now that, in Queensbury is moving more and more towards electric, we have the hybrids. And there is rebate money for the electric cars. And the electric cars are getting, 200, 300 miles for a charge now. And knowing that for example, 300 miles, if you put the heater on, that's going to reduce it by 150. But for the type of usage where it's around town usage, like, building and codes, at least for Queensbury, Warren County probably has more of a stretch for doing building and codes and inspections, but it works perfectly.
Mhm.
So I would like to see us start thinking about moving in the direction of an electric fleet. I mean, it's the way of the world, it's the way we're going, and the combustion engines are going to be behind us, I think, as we move forward. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Kevin,
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that, Supervisor Strauss, is we, part of the climate smart communities, we're looking into grants to purchase some of those vehicles. The issue has always been in the past is that I can get 2 of those hybrid vehicles that Scott's referring to for 1 electric vehicle. When you talk about codes and stuff like that, we don't purchase those vehicles. That's under their departments. So there are departments that have their own cars as well as us having their fleet cars. So it may be something to look into or talk with each department head about getting those vehicles as well. But that I think comes down to budget and how much money we have in for the purchase of new vehicles.
well, also too, I'll be right with you. A lot of the fleet cars are the healthcare nurses, correct?
Correct.
It's not the county fleets. It's the cars that the county employees use that are usually parked here. They're responsible for keeping them up. But that's something that we can move forward into. And, I agree. If, the grants would be great. A hybrid is it's better than nothing. So we'll keep that on discussion or add that on for, well, who would we go to on our fleet cars, Amanda? Yes, Claudia.
Thank you, Chairman
Hang on,
McGowan.
Amanda.
I've been working through the Climate Smart Communities program with Ethan Gaddy at the Planning Department. They've been doing a lot to take a look at our inventory of fleet across the board, not just DPW's fleet, which I would love to see us go to EV, like Supervisor Strauss said. I mean, we have the charging stations right here. And if people are using them to go around the county, it seems like a great way to transition into that. And hopefully we can get some more of the grant money for the EV purchases. But if you remember a few years ago, I urged us to change our fleet policy. And there is an aspect in there that requires the county to take into consideration other things than just the cost, like how far can you make it? How much are the maintenance costs? Because in the EV vehicles, the maintenance costs can be less once we figure out the logistics of it. So those are things that are, I think, through the county planning department and through purchasing and through our DPW, and maybe Tammy has some recommendations too.
Yeah, Fred.
Tammy?
I just wanted to point out what we do. The way it works is we do have a vehicle replacement plan. Usually we look at about 100,000 miles for a vehicle, or 10 years or 100,000 miles for replacement of a vehicle. Julie does have the ability, it has to be bid. So Julie does have the ability when she puts it out to bid, and she does that after the first of the year, once the budget's through the process and we know how much money we have, she'll put it out to bid. And she has in the past included electric vehicles or hybrids or something into the bid, just to see what the costs are, because if it makes sense. Now, there's people way smarter about this stuff than I am as far as usage, because as you said, we have the nurses that go up county. We have departments, social services, for example, that want a little bit bigger vehicle because they may have to transport, a family or whatever the case may be. So those are decisions that others will have to have a voice in. But basically, that's the process for replacing our vehicles every year.
Yes, John.
Thank you. Yeah, the other thing too is that I know people that have electric vehicles and their maintenance, other than changing the tires, is zero. No changing the oil, none of this other stuff. And not only that, but the rebate program, even for hybrids, there is a minimum. I think it's 40 miles for the original charge or something like that. And and the newer cars coming out, that's not, the older cars, like we've got some of the Subaru hybrids, and they're only good for the first 15 miles on electric charge. So in today's world, that you wouldn't get grant money for that. But for the fully electric vehicles, it's scaled, like $2,500 if it gets X mileage, and then up to a $7,000 rebate on an electric vehicle if it gets more than 150, I think, which today's world, that's becoming pretty standard. So you have to put in, when you're looking at the cost of the vehicle, what are going to be the long-term costs of that vehicle, say over 100,000 miles? Look at the cost benefit ratio. And not only that, you add the green factor, that you're doing the right thing for the environment kind of thing. Okay, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Supervisor Stroh, and Tammy is on that, and Julie, and it sounds, Kevin's looking into it, and Claudia's got her fingers on it, so we'll keep this all in mind and move forward to looking into changing our fleet. Slowly but surely. All right, any other discussion on the fleet car request program? All right, let's move on to the crime victims and bricks.
Yeah, I'll touch base on this. So I don't know the whole story behind it, but the crime victim memorial that they had in, I believe, Albany, I guess I want to say was terminated. They were pulling up some of the bricks there. They gave us all the bricks back that were bricks for Warren County. They've now supplied us with 400 more bricks, which we eventually hope to use out in this front area when we redo the front area. So we just want to let you know that we took in the 400 bricks last Thursday, Scott.
That is correct.
Last Thursday, and now we have them here on site. So when we start the design out front, we will incorporate those bricks as part of that design.
Where do we put all those bricks?
They're out in storage out back right now.
Which storage?
Okay, quickly as we move along.
The space that I cleared next to the building.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. We got referrals and pending items there. Discussion to continuing the changes of the concrete area from the front entrance.
So that's the front entrance area that we just sort of discussed about. This is the same thing that Jim Lieberman was looking to get us some grant money. We won't know the outcome of that until probably December of this year. So until December, we won't know whether or not we have that grant money. If we do get the grant money, we won't have to use the rest of the bond money that we had for the courts. If we don't get the grant money, then through the winter, we'll come up with a design and we'll redo that front entrance next spring.
Yeah, because we really didn't want to, we were waiting for the court to be finished, and now that we're here, and then coming into the winter. So it would be really helpful if we did get that grant and moving it forward. And this is where we'd be incorporating our bricks too,
That's
correct?
correct.
All right.
The next item is number 2 on there, and that's for the jail update. I had passed everybody. I talked about it last month, the abatement and demolition for the jail, the costs that were provided to us by Clark Patterson. I provided everybody on the committee a copy of that report. The next step, based on if you read the report, is to move forward with some updated testing. I don't necessarily need a resolution to do that. We have a term agreement with the contractor, but I want to see if that's what the committee is looking to do next on that facility.
Well, thank you for jumping right into number 2, Kevin, but I'm running the show here today. No, I'm only kidding. No, thank you, because that's one of the things I wanted to bring up is we did finally get this report we've been waiting for from Kevin, and thank you very much. It's an interesting report. I've read the other one, and we put a study group together. And as you know, we've had a problem with our coroner situation in the town, and it's something I kind of started 2 years ago of maybe looking into a regional coroner morgue and having a spot for forensic and other stuffs. But we've been waiting on this report of this jail. We have it's on the exterior, it's beautiful looking. On the interior, it's not bad looking in my eyes, but we did have to wait for the report and some issues. So basically, did anybody have a chance to see this report? We kind of have 3 different options to go with. So if it's all right with everyone, can we open this up for a little bit of discussion of what we all feel after reading the report there, or maybe the direction we should look into? But yes, Supervisor Stroud.
You want to have that discussion now, I assume.
Well, yeah, not a lengthy one, but what do you feel?
And I don't think I'm alone here, but to rebuild that building with the bricks and the foundation and today's cost of materials and everything else would be super expensive.
Agreed.
It already exists. We can rehab the asbestos and potentially the lead if it's there. It probably is. And then you got a great building. I mean, you're always looking for at least storage and things like that. You know, I think that building should be rehabbed and reused, maybe not for all purposes, but for some purposes, it'd be a lot cheaper than rebuilding that building. As we found out over here, how expensive it is. And the price of materials, Brad, you know better than anybody else. I don't think they're gonna go down.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Supervisor Stroud. Anybody else? Yes,
Thank
Supervisor
you.
Bramer.
I'm not on your committee, as you know, but I am on the little sub-working group. No, I'm not on this one, am I?
That's all right.
You are.
Well, but no, I am on the jail committee, as
You are.
we can call ourselves.
You're part of
And
Yes.
so I've been able to take a couple of tours down there, and I agree that it is still a solid building and would take a lot of dollars if we were to try to rebuild such a building. And now this report actually gives us some firm numbers that we can say, okay, we have objective basis now that it would cost us a lot more to demo the building than it would be to just get in there and abate the asbestos and try to have a little bit of remediation on the inside and make it ready to go for something. So I think that's the way we should go. I think the committee should give Mr. Hajos authorization to get that additional study that they recommend done and then be able to move forward from there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Supervisor Stroud, Supervisor Bramer. We need the space, the county needs the space, it's there, albeit not in the best of shape. But yeah, to rebuild a building like that, cost prohibitive, no doubt. So I think, in my opinion, we should move forward with investigating a rehabilitation of that building. You know, the remediation of any lead-based paint, asbestos, et cetera, and then a restructuring, if you will, of the interior to suit the needs of the county. So I agree, and I think we should give Mr. Hajos the okay to proceed with further investigation. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm
Okay, more welcome.
not sure what to say this morning, so I'm going to pass.
Okay. Well, it really sounds like the sense is really to move forward. I personally have been through the jail multiple times, and I'm really excited that this report has come in and we can move forward with it. I definitely agree with Supervisor Stroud and everyone else that the cost to tear that down, what was 800,000 and then to rebuild it. I mean, we're talking, you can't replace that building for how it was built. And I did not see anything beyond just the chipping paint and what on the inside for the renovations. Yeah, the ceilings are low, but hey, we could, once we get it cleaned up, you could cut in larger windows. Can put split units in there. You do have that center cavity where we can bring everything down the center and have the split units for heat and air in there. I mean, there's a huge amount of possibilities that we could use that storage, offices, little conference rooms, what we feel. And we still have the second floor. And I still would go for a regional morgue or something in a regional effect where we can use the county base. And so how do I, Amanda, go ahead, Kevin.
I just want to add, so the direction I'll take now, based on the discussion here, is I'll move forward with updating the asbestos and lead-based paint report. That'll be the next step. And then from there, once we get that report back, we can decide, because there's a lot of things you're referring to, such as having the morgue on the second floor. But if you're talking about putting those heat units and things like that on the first floor for storage or office space or conference, you don't have a lot of room. The headroom in there is not. So this second part of this report from Clark Patterson talked about gutting the interior of that building in its entirety and then redoing it from that point. So I don't know that there's necessarily a concrete plan of what to move forward with and what's going to be in that space. But currently I'll go, I don't need anything from the committee. Just give me the yay to move forward and I'll move forward with the additional asbestos and lead-based paint testing.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I know the headroom's low. And
Mhm.
when I'm talking to mini split is, the ones that go on the walls.
Yep.
The only thing we'd have to do is really run. I thought of the fact if you tear down the floor, because that all it is a concrete floor, but if you double the space there, whatever we do, we're not gonna have, it's gonna turn into one.
Sure.
So anything we can think of, and then if anybody can keep in their mind of what we can do with a, low ceiling grid type situation where, we don't need the 12-foot high ceilings in the office, but, we're gonna have to think out of the box, hopefully. Yes, Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the way to proceed is as Mr. Hajos has presented it. And you won't know what you need for headroom, et cetera, until you develop a plan for use. Okay? Space planning is what it's called. You need to involve an architect, et cetera. So first step is as Mr. Hajos presented it. Then we can look at whether we gut the interior, modify sections of it, et cetera. But you need to have a plan for what the space utilization is first.
Agreed. Thank you, Supervisor Bruno. So consensus says let Kevin move on and get that report. And meanwhile, we'll start keeping in our minds for a plan to do something with that space. Yes, Supervisor.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with the plan to move forward. Question for Kevin. Kevin, I know a little bit more about asbestos than I did a while ago, and it is often found in concrete. So are we testing the concrete also? On the floor?
They'll test that entire facility. When I give them the task to go ahead and do testing, they'll test every location where they think there's a possibility of being asbestos, including the soil in the crawl space area.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we're all in agreement to have Kevin move on. All right. Thank you. So let's go to number 3, the ongoing discussion regarding proposed Joseph Warren Center.
So I think I'm going to reach out to Supervisor Thomas, and if he wants me to put out an email, I can get one going that we can get everybody together for a meeting.
Sure, that'd
Okay.
be fine.
Right.
So so that one is a meeting going out or an email going out to have a meeting. Great. Privilege of the floor. Kevin.
I know we didn't have an airport meeting this month. We didn't have anything really for the airport, but I just wanted to let everyone know, we got the news this morning from the governor's office that they are going to give us $1.4 million for new T hangars at the airport. The announcement just came out this morning, but I think at the next airport committee meeting next month, we'll have a little more detail on it. But I just want to let everybody know that.
That's great news, Kevin, and thank you for sharing that. That's really it's happening. Is there anything we can do on that, Kevin, to maybe shave off now that we've been awarded, even though we don't have the money yet? Is there anything we can do to maybe start preparing ourselves so we can move a little, quicker, so this process doesn't take, 3 years to get a hangar started?
I would love to say yes, there's many things that we could do, but the process is the process and it will only go as fast as FAA and DOT allow it to go.
I agree. So thank you. Yeah, I guess it was just wishful thinking. So thank you very much. Any public comment? Don?
Hi, Chairman McGowan. No, there's nothing on YouTube at this point.
All right, so I'll call a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Bruno and Supervisor Stroud. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed?